Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. I am R.S. Raghu, and with me is Nitya Franco, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur says G20 India presidency is a great responsibility to ensure bridging differences and forging consensus on global issues. First meeting of the Culture Working Group of G20 begins in Khajuraho. US President Joe Biden meets Eastern NATO allies, reaffirms US commitment to their security. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says China's President Xi Jinping to visit Russia. Ties between two countries reaching new frontiers. Turkey introduces temporary wage support scheme in earthquake zone. Winter storm hits parts of US, threatens record snowfall. Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar claims gold in men's 50-meter rifle shooting at ISSF World Cup in Cairo. And in women's cricket, India to clash with Australia in ICC T20 World Cup semi-final at Cape Town in South Africa on Thursday. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur inaugurated the G20 meeting on finance and central bank deputies FCBD of G20 nations on Wednesday in Bengaluru. Delivering his inaugural speech, the Union Minister said that G20 India presidency is a proud moment for the country as well as a great responsibility to ensure that the G20 continues to bridge differences and forge consensus on matters of global importance. Mr. Thakur said the finance track of G20 process is the core that provides an effective forum for global economic discourse and policy coordination. He noted that the main work streams in finance track are global economic outlook and risks, international financial architecture including development finance and global financial safety net, financial inclusion and other financial sector issues such as global health and financing and international taxation. He pointed out that India G20 presidency and its priorities focusing on healing our earth, creating global harmony and giving hope for our future reflects the importance India places on collaborative efforts to address global challenges.
The global economy is facing the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, food and energy insecurity, broad-based inflation, heightened debt, vulnerabilities, worsening climate change, and geopolitical tension. The impact of all these crises can set back progress on the world's key development priorities. The G20 can make significant contribution to find pragmatic global solutions through thorough focused dialogue.
Mr. Thakur said the deputies meeting is dedicated to the finalization of the communique that will be endorsed by the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors to be held on the 24th and 25th of February in Bengaluru. More from our Bengaluru correspondent.
Union Minister Shri Anurag Singh Thakur highlighted the need to aspire the spirit of multilateralism during his inaugural address at the second G20 Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting in Bengaluru. He pointed out that through constructive and productive discussions we can collectively achieve optimal outcomes. He said that the finance track of G20 process is the core that provides an effective forum for global economic discourse and policy coordination. He noted that the main work streams in finance track are global economic outlook and risks, international financial architecture including development finance and global financial safety net, financial inclusion and other financial sector issues such as global health financing and international taxation. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Under India's G20 presidency, the first meeting of the Culture Working Group began on Wednesday at Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh. The meeting was chaired by Union Minister for Culture and Tourism G. Kishan Reddy. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Union Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment Dr. Virendra Kumar also participated in the event. Various topics including cultural exchange will be discussed in the meeting of the Culture Working Group to be held till the 25th of February. Earlier, the exhibition named Readdress Return of Treasures and the renovated Museum of Art and Culture was inaugurated. The representatives of the G20 countries were welcomed according to Indian tradition. The delegates also enjoyed the folk dances of the state.
The 7th edition of the Asia Economic Dialogue will be held from the 23rd to the 25th of February in Pune. It is the External Affairs Ministry's annual flagship event on geoeconomics, co-hosted in collaboration with Pune International Centre. The principal theme for the dialogue is Asia and the emerging world order. The dialogue will also discuss themes such as global growth prospects, how the global south will shape the G20 agenda and the metaverse. The inaugural session of the dialogue would be a conversation between External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Bhutan Finance Minister Yonpo Namgay Shering, and the Maldives Finance Minister Ibrahim Amir. Our correspondent reports that more than 44 speakers from various countries, including Brazil, the US, the UK, South Africa, Bhutan, Maldives, Switzerland, Singapore and Mexico will be participating in this dialogue. A number of participants would be joining the conversation through AED's website and digital platforms. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Wednesday approved the mandatory packaging norms for the jute year 2022-23. According to the norms, 100% reservation of the food grains and 20% reservation of sugar will be compulsorily packed in jute bags. In other decisions, on Wednesday, the Union Cabinet approved the signing of the Air Services Agreement between India and Guyana. The agreement will come into force after the exchange of diplomatic notes between the parties confirming that each party has completed the necessary internal procedure for entry into force of this agreement. Indians have a sizable presence in Guyana and are the largest ethnic group comprising about 40% of the population. The signing of Air Services Agreement with Guyana will enable a framework for provision of air services between the two countries. The Union Cabinet has also approved the extension of the term of the 22nd Law Commission of India up to 31st of August 2024. The Law Commission of India is a non-statutory body constituted by the government from time to time. The tenure of the present 22nd Law Commission of India ends on the 20th of this month. The government said the chairperson and the members of the 22nd Law Commission have joined office recently and have taken up several pending projects. Therefore, the tenure of the 22nd Law Commission has been extended up to 31st of August 2024. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on India-Singapore cross-border digital payment linkage.
Reserve Bank of India, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das and Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS Managing Director Ravi Menon launched the cross-border connectivity of the Unified Payments Interface UPI of India and PayNow of Singapore on Tuesday. The event took place in a virtual mode in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. The linkage of these two payment systems would enable residents of both countries in a faster and cost-efficient transfer of cross-border remittances. It will also help the Indian diaspora in Singapore, especially migrant workers and students, through instantaneous and low-cost transfer of money from Singapore to India and vice versa. 8 banks, including State Bank of India, Indian Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, ICICI, Axis Bank and Singapore's DBS and Liquid Group are presently in collaboration for this connectivity. Citizens from India and Singapore can use their local payment systems to send money to those in foreign land in real time now. Currently, an Indian user can send remittances up to 1,000 Singapore dollars per day. In a tweet, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi termed it as a new milestone in India-Singapore relations as we link real-time digital payment systems. He said, and I quote, "This linkage will provide a low-cost real-time payment option to people from both countries and increase remittance. This will benefit students, professionals, NRIs and their families the most," unquote. The Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong lauded the move and said, and I quote, "The PayNow UPI linkage is India's first cross-border real-time system linkage and Singapore's second. It is also the world's first such linkage to feature cloud-based infrastructure and participation by non-bank financial institutions. As we progressively add more users and use cases, the Pay Now and UPI linkage will grow in utility and contribute more to facilitating our trade and our people-to-people links, unquote. India has emerged as one of the fastest growing ecosystems for fintech innovation. Prime Minister Modi's visionary leadership has been instrumental in driving globalization of India's best-in-class digital payment infrastructure. A key emphasis of the Prime Minister has been on ensuring that the benefits of UPI are not just limited to India, but other countries also benefit from it. The Unified Payments Interface UPI is a system that powers multiple bank accounts into a single mobile application of any participating bank, merging several banking features, seamless fund routing and merchant payments into one hood. It also caters to the peer-to-peer collect request, which can be scheduled and paid as per requirement and convenience. The National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, conducted a pilot launch with 21 member banks. The pilot launch was on 11th April 2016 at the Reserve Bank of India headquarters in Mumbai. Banks started to upload their UPI-enabled apps on Google Play Store from 25th August 2016 onwards. It is unique since it enables immediate money transfer through mobile device round the clock, 24/7 and 365 days. Single mobile application for accessing different bank accounts with incremental security. The participants in UPI include Pair Payment Service Providers, PSPs, Pay Payment Service Providers, PSPs, Remitter Bank, Beneficiary Bank, NPCI, bank account holders and merchants. On 26 January 2022, a UK-based fintech startup enabled UPI for global merchants with real-time currency conversion facility to help in doing business in India. As per NPCI and RBI mandate, banks, payment service providers, PSPs, and third-party application providers, TPAPs, in India must enable international acceptance through UPI from 30th September 2022. In October 2022, India offered UPI and related technologies to the Commonwealth of Nations. On 7th February 2023, PhonePe announced extending support of UPI for international payments in UAE, Singapore, Mauritius, Nepal, and Bhutan. Users will be able to pay in international currency directly from Indian bank accounts. RBI also announced extending UPI payment facility for inbound travelers from G20 countries. The Reserve Bank of India has been pushing for internationalization of UPI with nations using United States dollar, pound sterling and euro under bilateral treaties as envisaged in the Payments Vision 2025 document. The Ministry of External Affairs, MEA, has also actively pushed for internationalization of UPI due to geopolitical concerns. Efforts are on to explore central bank to central bank transfer using UPI as the pipeline and a collaborative effort if the countries have a similar system like UPI.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
Welcome back to World News. In line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's clarion call for lifestyle for environment, Secretary Economic Relations, External Affairs Ministry Dammu Ravi urged I2U2 partners to work together to achieve a sustainable and environmentally friendly lifestyle for all. Mr. Ravi reaffirmed India's commitment to the I2U2 partnership at the first I2U2 Business Forum, which began on Wednesday in Abu Dhabi. It was organized jointly by the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development and the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The Secretary, in his opening remarks, urged all stakeholders to work together to achieve tangible progress in all I2U2 initiatives, including the establishment of an I2U2 Innovation Center in Gurugram, Haryana, India. The I2U2 partnership, which includes India, Israel, the United Arab Emirates and the United States, aims to promote tangible economic cooperation among its members in a variety of sectors such as food, security, water, energy, space, transportation, health and technology. It aims to mobilize private sector capital and expertise to help modernize infrastructure, decarbonize industries, improve public health and promote the development of green technologies, among other things. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Wednesday said, India's quest to be a leading power is built on investing in relationships of substance. He said, India's efforts in the Latin American and Caribbean countries are made in this spirit. He was addressing the valedictory session of the international conference Connected Histories Shared Present at India International Centre in Delhi. The minister said that Narendra Modi government's commitment can be seen by increased frequency of high-level visits and opening of new embassies. He said the annual trade with Latin American and Caribbean countries is already at 50% of that with India's largest partners. He added that a rising middle class in those markets will help increase them further. US President Joe Biden met leaders of NATO's eastern flank today to show support for their security after Moscow suspended the Nuclear Arms Control Treaty. Biden arrived in Poland's capital Warsaw late on Monday after a surprise visit to Kyiv. Earlier today, Biden met staff from the US Embassy in Warsaw before gathering leaders of Bucharest. The countries on NATO's eastern flank such as Poland, Bulgaria and Lithuania. At the opening of the meeting, Biden reaffirmed the US commitment to their security.
After meeting China's top diplomat Wang Yi, Russia's President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday said that China's President Xi Jinping would visit Russia. He said the relations between the two countries have reached new frontiers. Putin welcomed Wang Yi to the Kremlin, telling him that bilateral trade was better than expected and could soon reach $200 billion a year, up from $185 billion in 2022. Wang Yi told Putin that relations between the two countries had withstood the pressure from a volatile international situation and that crisis offered certain opportunities. Wang earlier met Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, saying that he looked forward to clinching new agreements during his visit to Moscow. Turkey has introduced a temporary wage support scheme and banned layoffs in 10 cities on Wednesday to protect workers and businesses from the financial impact of the powerful earthquakes that struck the country's south earlier this month. The moves are part of the Turkish government's steps to support people in the earthquake zone. Employers whose workplaces were heavily or moderately damaged would benefit from support to partially pay the wages of workers whose hours were reduced. A ban on layoffs in 10 earthquake-hit provinces will provide relief to workers. President Tayyip Erdogan said on Tuesday that 865,000 people are living in tents and 23,500 in containers, while 376 are in student dormitories and public guest houses outside the earthquake zone. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake on the 6th of February killed more than 47,000 people, destroyed hundreds of thousands of buildings in Turkey and Syria, and left millions homeless.
The ambassador of Bangladesh to Russia, Kamrul Hassan, was summoned by the Russian Foreign Ministry to protest the decision of Dhaka to block entry of some Russian ships into Bangladeshi ports. The Russian Foreign Ministry conveyed to the Bangladeshi side that this step does not correspond to the traditionally friendly bilateral relations and it may adversely affect the prospects for cooperation in various fields. Earlier, Foreign Ministry spokesperson of the Russian Federation had told the media that dozens of Russian vessels have been stopped from anchoring at Bangladeshi ports under the threat of US sanctions. In recent months, Bangladesh has disallowed some Russian ships to anchor at its ports as they came under the Western sanctions against Russia as a fallout of the Ukraine war. Bangladesh cited the need to comply with the sanctions as the reason not to allow ships entry into Bangladesh ports. The Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime Department CTTC of Dhaka Metropolitan Police DMP has arrested a top functionary of the newly formed terror group Jamaatul Ansar fil Hind al-Sharqiya. Briefing media on Wednesday, the CTTC unit chief Muhammad Asaduzaman said that based on a tip of CTTC unit conducted a drive at Saidabad bus terminal in Dhaka and arrested one Mohibullah Alais Bolar Sheikh. 2 mobiles and 1 laptop were recovered from him. The arrested militant's main job was to deliver sermons to radicalize youth for Jamaatul Ansar fil Hind al-Sharqiya. The CTTC disclosed that Mohibullah was also an active member of the banned terror outfit Harkatul Jihad Bangladesh. As a student of Madrasa in Hatazari, he took jihadi training with other members of the Huji bee.
Sri Lanka's Agriculture Ministry has planned to increase the paddy yield per hectare to 5.5 metric tons from the current 3.5 metric tons over the next 10 years. The ministry stated that attention had been paid to expand paddy cultivation by targeting every aspect such as seed production, soil testing, effective use of organic and chemical fertilizers, introduction of new technology to paddy cultivation, marketing and preservation of crops, and use of insecticides and herbicides. Sri Lanka's agriculture sector, mainly paddy cultivation, suffered a major setback since April 2021 with a ban on use of chemical fertilizers. Since then, many farmers were reported to have abandoned cultivating their fields, and the same has resulted in the fall of harvest in at least 2 cultivating seasons. The said ban was lifted in November 2021, and fertilizers have since been supplied to farmers amid the issues which have arisen due to the prevailing economic crisis. In Sri Lanka, inflation under the National Consumer Price Index declined to 53.2% for the month of January 2023. The inflation for December 2022 was 59.2%. Food products contributed to 53.6%, while non-food groups contributed to 52.9%. The inflationary pressure in comparison from previous years is linked to the printing of money by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the resultant devaluation of rupee. The Sri Lankan rupee devalued over 80% in the forex markets over the last 10 months.
Israeli Ambassador Naor Gilon has said that India and Israel are keen on finalizing the proposed free trade pact as it could further boost overall bilateral trade ties. During a media briefing in New Delhi on Wednesday, Mr. Gilon indicated that there could be a forward movement on the Free Trade Agreement FTA during the upcoming high-level visit of Prime Minister of Israel Benjamin Netanyahu to India. Describing defense ties between the two countries as very strong, he said Israel has an advantage to support India in its efforts to become self-reliant in defense manufacturing because of the long-standing trust in the area between the two countries. The Israeli envoy said that there is great potential to expand cooperation in areas of renewable energy, smart mobility, agriculture, healthcare, water and cyber and homeland security.
A winter storm spreading across the U.S. West into the northern plains and Midwest could produce blizzards, brutal cold and record snowfall, making roads dangerous and disrupting air travel. The National Weather Service issued advisories for large parts of the western and north-central United States. In its forecast, it said that up to 2 feet of snow and winds of up to 97 kilometers per hour were expected in some spots from Tuesday through Thursday. The slow-moving storm brought heavy rain to parts of California and snow to the Sierra Nevada mountains. On Tuesday, it was centered over the northern Rockies and the High Plains, including Montana and the Dakotas. Late on Wednesday through Thursday, the storm will bring heavy snow and freezing rain to New England. New Hampshire, Vermont and Maine could get a foot or more of snow. On Tuesday, strong winds knocked out power to more than 163,000 homes and businesses in California, primarily in counties just south of San Francisco, as peak winds at San Francisco International Airport reached 109 kilometers per hour on Tuesday afternoon.
And now moving on to sports. In shooting, India's Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar on Wednesday claimed the gold medal in the men's individual 50-meter rifle 3 positions competition at the ISSF World Cup in Cairo. The 22-year-old Tomar, who had also won a gold in the Shangwan World Cup last year, won 16-6 in the gold medal contest to comfortably beat Australia's Alexander Schmerl. Earlier, India's Tilottama Sen had won a bronze medal in the women's 10-meter air rifle. India has placed comfortably on top of the medal tally with 4 gold. Hungary is in second position with 2 gold medals. India all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja stormed into the top 10 of the ICC Test bowler rankings after his brilliant performance in the first two tests against Australia. The left-arm bowler is the leading wicket-taker in the Border-Gavaskar series with 17 wickets from the two tests and has galloped into the 9th spot in the bowler rankings. Jadeja is the third Indian in the top 10 with Ravichandran Ashwin and Jasprit Bumrah being the other two. Right arm off-spinner Ashwin climbed to the second spot with 40-year-old James Anderson occupying the pole position. India all-rounder Akshar Patel, who is the second leading run scorer in the series against Australia, has moved 2 places to 5th overall in the latest Test all-rounder rankings. In women's cricket, India will face Australia in the ICC T20 World Cup semi-final at Newlands, Cape Town in South Africa on Thursday. The match will begin at 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. India entered the semi-finals defeating Ireland by 5 runs through the Duckworth-Lewis method in the rain-marred last group match at St. George's Park, Berha on Monday. With 4 victories from their first 4 games, Australia leads Group A. India finished second in Group B with 6 points from 4 games. In the second semi-final on Friday, England will clash with South Africa. The winners of semi-final will meet in the summit clash on Sunday.
At the stock markets, key indices posted sharp losses today and the rupee weakened slightly against the dollar. In the international market, the Brent crude oil futures traded weak. A report from the business desk.
Falling for the 4th straight day, Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange slid 928 points, 1.5% to close at 59,745 today. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange slid by 272 points or 1.5% to 17,554. Among other global stock markets, the Asian markets ended lower. So Japan's Nikkei 225 index dropped 1.4%. China Shanghai Composite Index fell by 0.5% each, along with Hong Kong's Hang Seng. South Korea's Kospi declined 1.7% and Singapore Straits Times Index shed 0.3%. In Europe, London's FTSE 100 had slid by 1%, France's CAC 40 had dropped 0.8% and Germany's DAX had fallen by 0.7% in intraday trade. Global crude oil prices fell for a third trading session today as concerns about fuel demand were stoked by expectations that minutes of the US Fed meeting due today will indicate a need to hike interest rates. So, Brent crude futures for April delivery fell by $1.13 to trade at $81.92 a barrel. US crude futures for April dropped $1.18 to $75.18 a barrel. And at the foreign exchange market, the rupee depreciated by 6 paise to 82 rupees and 85 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News All India Radio.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. South China Morning Post reports Russia will comply with nuclear disarmament treaty despite suspension. Le Monde reports Germany welcomes over 1 million Ukrainian refugees in 1 year. The Globe and Mail reports huge winter storm churns across northern US threatening record snowfall. The Guardian says tens of thousands of refugees flee from Somaliland clashes. And the Japan Times reports Kishida faces mounting pressure to visit Kyiv as only G7 leader yet to do so. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur says G20 India presidency is a great responsibility to ensure bridging differences and forging consensus on global issues. First meeting of Culture Working Group of G20 begins in Khajuraho. US President Joe Biden meets Eastern NATO allies, reaffirms US commitment to their security. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says China's President Xi Jinping to visit Russia, ties between two countries reaching new frontiers. Turkey introduces temporary wage support scheme in earthquake zone. Winter storm hits parts of US, threatens record snowfall. Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar claims gold in men's 50-meter rifle shooting at ISSF World Cup in Cairo. And in women's cricket, India to clash with Australia in ICC T20 World Cup semi-final at Cape Town in South Africa on Thursday. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Denmark.
Vaishnav Jan tu tene kahiye je peed parai jaane re sakal logna sahne bande ninda na kare kene re.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.